Gosh.
And look at that. Theater even got it recorded. Okay, I would like to call to order the Village of Lansing Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, April 28th to order at 7 PM. We are 2 minutes early. Look at that. We're on time. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We've got one set, April 13th, 2026. Oh, actually, sorry, before we start, Kevin is out tonight, so I am going to appoint Soledad as a voting member for this evening. And Lisa is online and she is able to vote this evening. Right after I said the two things I had to say, I didn't say, look at that. Okay, now we can talk about the minutes for April 13th. Any additional comments?
I had stuff from Lorraine, I had stuff from Lisa. And then Lorraine came in and gave me a tongue lashing and I had changed more things. So that was right.
Not that accurate? You got it all? Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the April 13th, 2026 meeting minutes.
Oh, sorry. Well, over that. A motion to approve.
Motion by Lorraine,
One second.
second by Jim, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the public comment period. This is an opportunity for anyone from the public, either online or in person, to bring up anything that is not already on the agenda tonight.
Observing.
Carla,
Yeah, serving. That's nice.
how are you? I will make a comment just as a member of the public and on the planning board. Just remember tonight is Lisa's last, planning board meeting as an official meeting, though we do hope to, I know that we were gonna do something tonight, but unfortunately she couldn't be here, so we'll do in the future. We'll send an email out, but, I know we said it last time and I'm sure we'll say it again when we all see her, but, we appreciate everything, Lisa, that you've done for the planning board. And also just as a member of the community and, glad you're gonna stay engaged with the community in one fashion or another, if you so choose. Hearing no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the public comment period.
Motion to close.
Motion by Lorraine.
Second. Second.
Oh, Soledad beats you. Second by Soledad. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next item on the agenda is to continue the discussion of the village code changes and corrections. So, I don't know about you, Lisa, but, everybody here in front of them, it does have a printed out copy. We're not gonna go over this in detail. Okay, you do have one, great. A copy of the spreadsheet that Lorraine and I kind of updated. So it's the same spreadsheet that we were working on as we broke up into pairs and went through sections of the chart of uses. We added a couple columns there at the beginning, and I mentioned this in an email and I sent the link out too, so you do have access to it electronically, but is there a term, is there a definition, and kind of any notes that we had in there? So one of the things that we had talked about as we were going down through was, well, if there's a term, does it need to stay in terms or can we move it into the definitions? Like if it's only referenced one time, maybe it doesn't need to be a term. There are some things I think that can move into definitions. And then there are some things that are referenced a few different times that we might have to leave in terms, but we can do that. And that was really the intent of that kind of terms column. The definition one was pretty self-explanatory. We want to have a definition for everything. So some of them, there was a definition for, and then if you look in the note column, there was, for some of them, an updated or an alternative definition provided, and you have a lot of that information in front of you in the stapled packet too. And then there were some other notes in that notes column there too. And then there were some definitions though that didn't have a definition. Obviously, we need to have a definition for them. And a lot of them, if not all of them, are in this packet in front of you. And this packet is something that Natalie had put together and distributed. But other note things are just, is there a definition that, updated definition that we want to do? There were a couple things where I think like high traffic food and beverage had, in CMT, there were additional conditions for the special permit. You don't know where the additional conditions actually are in the code. We can find it. So some things like that as we go down through and take a look at that. At the bottom were the new uses that we wanted to consider adding into the chart of uses in the code. Some of them are, data center is something that came up as a really new use. Dispensary is a very new use. Some of the other ones, like daycare, nursery, drug and alcohol treatment, rehabilitation, were just meant to clean up things that we have similar uses in the village, but it might make Mike's life, easier and the board's life easier to say, yes, this falls into that. Just right, if there's a gray area where something comes in, we say it's this, and then somebody disagrees, we think it falls under another category. So that's meant to address that. And then things like large scale sales and heavy manufacturing were things that came up as we looked at an existing use and we said, yeah, that's a great existing use, but we should kind of break it into two different uses. So that's what those last two were. And then as far as the whole chart itself goes with the color coding and stuff like that, Lorraine and I did go through the meeting minutes and some of the videos to verify that we had captured everything correctly on there. And there were a couple ones that we had questions about or missed, and just going through that process, we kind of clarified all that. So that is the update on that and where we sit. So I would like to have between this meeting and the next meeting, whether we have time to talk about it at the next meeting or not, we'll chat about when Mike gives us an update on what might be coming on to the planning board docket. But between now and the next time that we're able to fit on the agenda to talk about, I really would like people to go down through the list, and specifically the ones where that says there's an alternative definition or things like that, and take a look in the packets and see if you have, yes, I like that definition of it, or a combination of these two. We talked about a lot of them in the meetings, but we never settled on a specific one. So if you could go through that packet, take a look and just kind of say, yes, this is the one that I prefer. That way, when we do start talking about some of those ones that don't have a definition, that makes it a little bit quicker. And Natalie, for some of the ones that I think some of these ones at the bottom, like I know that like daycare, nursery, stuff like that, you had provided some optional ones for towards the back of the packet.
Yes.
But I think there's some other ones on there that maybe we don't have a proposed definition for, like data center.
Okay.
Could you
Yeah.
see if you can look something up? That, I mean, and that we don't have to have by the next meeting, because I doubt that we'll get that far along in
Yeah.
it, but that way at least that'll give us something to work off of.
Did you say in there, and I didn't caught most of it, and I read it, did you say anything about data centers?
Yeah, that's the one that I just asked her about. So it's at the bottom as a use that we want to add, but we don't have a proposed definition to run off of.
Okay.
And I know that there's some in the area here. Well, there's some, it's the use in a couple areas, I think. So there might be some
Yeah, there's some
data to
definition.
go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I heard that, but I just wanted to be sure, because I mean, that's become very much a prominent topic that I don't think it was, 6 months ago.
Yeah. When, we'll mention this later, but when Lorraine and I were planning Federation, yeah, it was definitely one of the themes that came up, right? Did you hear this in that meeting? Yeah. Did you hear this in that meeting? Yeah. Didn't matter what the topic was. Like, it could be siting for stuff, data center. It could be wetlands, data center, seeker, data center. Yeah. So it came up kind of.
They get our name tags and they saw Lansing.
Yeah.
They immediately start talking to us
I
about
told
things.
Natalie on the way, and I was like, town of Lansing, not the village.
Yeah.
And then there was some time really from those ones.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it was, but there was a really good discussion. We talked to a couple people from the village while we were there, some people from the county while we were there, just about stuff. It was good. Go ahead, Lisa.
What about battery storage systems? What did we decide about them? Anything?
We haven't decided yet. So I have some information about them, and we are gonna have somebody come in she's from the county, or where is she from?
She is, can't remember the company name that she's from, but they are proposing a project within the village. But she knows quite a bit about, she definitely knows what she's doing, and she's gonna bring somebody, a technical advisor that can help you with how they do fire suppression, how they handle any other type of emergency shutdown system, that type of stuff. She's gonna bring somebody with her on that.
Because that would fall,
Yeah, yeah.
it's not right. It's like, if you look at it, you don't see solar on here, right? Solar is not the use. Solar is,
Its own law.
right, it's got its own law. And so Bess will too.
So we're not gonna,
There's the state model law for BES, and we'll follow
right,
that template like we did for solar.
Mhm.
We just haven't gotten there.
okay. The other thing is, when we talked about 1 unit and 2 unit residential building, weren't we gonna make that so that it was residential building first? And then so they would be together and people would be able to see them
Yes.
together on the chart?
Yeah, it's not a column, but if you look all the way over to the far right, there's 3 that say group with other residential. And yes, however, we need to change the actual name of that use so that they're grouped together. Yeah.
Yeah,
But they should be, yeah, residential comma, whatever it is.
To be
okay, so
honest-
when I was also reading the definition of special care facility, one of the things I'm thinking, senior housing is considered a special care?
There's something in here somewhere, so that's the other thing. Thank you, Lorraine, for sitting down with me and over a few meetings to go through all this. There is something in here, I thought, yeah,
We talk about that.
so special care facility, oh, right, so for special care facility, right,
Just seemed strange when I was reading the current definition.
it does include
Mhm.
senior housing.
Says senior
Yeah,
housing.
exactly, but it seems so different than convalescent care or progressive care. And then also adolescent care, is this for like kids that are in trouble, or? I just, all of a sudden, when I was reading this, I thought, what is that exactly? Adolescent care or senior housing, it just seemed an odd place for it. I mean, to me, senior housing is, well, it used to be age 55. I know some communities are going to 65, and that seems different to me than a special care facility, but it's just, I don't know.
So maybe we want to, just like there's some things down there that were proposed, adding in the term does not include. Maybe we want to put in, because on the planning board, as we've talked about senior housing before, it has very much been what you just mentioned, Lisa,
Yeah,
people of, certain age or older, in a place. We talked about that for, Pay the View.
And
We talked
Lansing
about it-
Meadows.
We talked about one point down here off of, yes, by BJ's down there. We had talked about that as one of the things too. So, but yeah, if you think that that's something that we should add, add in the term does not include, we can put senior housing in there.
I mean, I suppose it
Just take
doesn't
it
hurt.
out.
It just seemed,
Yeah.
it seemed
So
a bit
just take
an
it out.
odd combo. It
Just take
just
it out.
seemed out of place, that's all.
Yeah, so we might just, right, Natalie is right, since we don't define it, we can just take senior housing right out of the definition.
Yeah, and what is adolescent housing?
It almost seemed to me like
Like George Junior? Or
I don't know.
not?
what George
That's
Jr.
what I was
Or is it-
Like a
wondering.
foster care type
Oh, okay.
house. Not that they have those anymore, like an orphanage, but
At any rate, those are the only two things that I thought, I'm not sure I know what this means exactly. Well, I know what senior housing means. Adolescent, I didn't, but I just didn't think it fit in special care. Or even needs to be talked about because I don't know.
Mike will take a look, at it and,
I'll make sure, Lisa, I'll come up with something using the terms you have there, but changing it maybe just a little bit so that it can be clearly defined between the two.
Yep.
Kind of, I'll work on something. I'll send it over to Ally and she can tell me it's terrible.
run it through chat.
well, and also along that same vein, feel free to go down and look, I mean, you've got the packet here. Feel free to go down and look at all the definitions. Just, I know we talked about a lot of them there's a notes for already. Some of them there are no notes. But take a look if there's other things like that. Do you think we should modify now? Is a perfectly good time to do it.
So if you took it out of that definition, would then senior care become like its own new category?
It's senior housing, so that would
For
be,
senior
I
housing.
mean, that would be,
We haven't really it's always kind of just been a use within.
right, as a residential use, yeah,
district.
or a
I don't think that you
residential
need a
district,
separate use specifically for senior.
yeah. Right, the
housing.
use would be residential, whether it's
Yeah,
one.
it's just
two,
a
or multiple,
condition that you can
yeah.
then add on to a special permit if something is required to be senior housing.
And that's what we did for Cayuga View, right? That is
Yeah.
whatever high density residential, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
But in the conditions when we approved the special permit, there was a a kind of senior housing component built into the conditions.
I think the
I see.
difference between the special care and the assisted living, and we go back to that whole thing, Lisa, with the hospital.
Oh, yeah,
One of the big things on that was 24-hour care.
exactly.
That's what separated these two definitions. You could have a special care facility, and it might be somebody who just comes in, maybe brings groceries, somebody makes sure they're doing okay, but you had assisted living, there's actually somebody there on the site that would help somebody at all
Mhm.
times. So, and then that was different from what an actual hospital definition was. So like I said, I'll take a look at these and make sure that there's a clear definition or a clear separation.
Just when we did Cayuga View and in Lansing Meadows, and it was senior housing, there
Mhm.
were like definitions federally, they
Yeah.
defined it. And all of that. So that it just seemed to me not to be appropriate here, that's all.
No, I think that's a good catch.
Is senior housing different than 55 and over? I know they say 55 and over, and then they have senior housing different.
I think there are differing age ranges, I believe. But I do think it's set, at least at some point at the federal level, they have a definition of what senior housing.
Because Lansing Meadows was 55 and over. It was classified 55 and over.
Yeah.
It was classified as senior housing.
I don't know.
I'll go back to look, but I don't think it was. I had two, sorry, are you done, Lisa?
Yep.
I had a couple comments. I would really like to see all the uses put into the definitions and taken out of the terms.
And that is the goal. And it might require some other things, like if you take a look at like, automotive sales and service, there's a term in there, but it's like referenced one time. So if it's only referenced one time in the terms and nowhere else in the code, it can just be in the definition. But then there are some things like group residential is mentioned a few different time in terms. We might need to,
Are you referring to terms as the beginning of the
yeah,
chapter?
section 3,
Okay.
yeah. So it might be okay. It was just, we kind of identified it there to make sure
Yeah, I
that,
think it matters if it's used in other areas
Yeah.
of chapter
Yep.
140.
but yes, absolutely. If we could, everything has to have a definition. And if we can pull any of that stuff out of terms, yes. Or if we just need to redo what the relationship is between the term and the definition, and yes, this thing still stays in terms, that doesn't mean that we necessarily have to define it up there like we do a lot. Because there was one thing that I forget where it was, but there was one thing that we found that what is in the term is a gigantic definition of this thing, like more robust than any other definition that we have. So,
Wasn't,
oh no, it wasn't up in terms. It was
isn't it the,
the adult entertainment.
Yes.
Oh.
Pages of really a definition, but it's not in definitions and it's not in terms, it's actually in the code, so.
Yeah.
But just things to look at.
And I've got 4 or 5 other things, but y'all just send out notes for it. Just send notes out.
Okay. Yeah, but absolutely, no, I would love to. I did use discotheque as an example up at the Planning Federation. They were talking about, when's a good time to review your code and things like that, and zoning and uses, and if you have a new comp plan, or if you're starting to see terms that are like outdated. Somebody said like cabaret, I said, or like discotheque. That got a good chuckle, yeah. There were some other good ones up there that people shared. I was like, fair enough. Yeah.
So if the state has something like solar, model solar BESS, is that where, as I recall, that was where manufactured homes also came in, Mike Scott? Isn't that somehow governed by the state somehow, the
Yeah, you
manufactured?
cannot treat a manufactured home or a mobile home differently than a single family dwelling for zoning purposes.
As far as code wise, I don't know if you're asking code or zoning wise, but code wise, they're already manufactured housing. They cannot leave the manufacturer unless they've been inspected. With the New York State Uniform Code. Well, so when they get out to the job site, the only thing that we inspect is the connections. There's nothing else that we inspect on it.
Oh, I see. So it's not necessary. Okay.
That's why sometimes when you have to be careful, because there's a lot of these manufactured homes that come from out of state. And if they're not inspected by New York State, they have to have the New York State stamp on it in order to come into the state.
Okay. So that's all taken care of it. So, but we don't need to have a definition of what a manufactured home is or anything.
We have a definition of mobile home.
I think there is,
Yeah, the only-
there is something in code about that, because Lorraine and I found it. If it's referenced in there, it might be what Mike's alluding to, right? Yes.
The definition, you know,
Okay,
different types of home.
Yeah, this is
and so maybe we don't need
for
that.
zoning purposes shall be deemed a one-unit residential
Okay.
building. Yeah.
Is that in the definitions? Oh, yeah, so that's a use in there.
Section, yeah, that's in the definition.
Oh, yeah, so if you actually take a look at that mobile home, one of the notes in there is, you know, is this something that we could take a look at that piece of it too, because there was some other information in there that we just might not need anymore. There was a date in there about 1973, and I was like, I don't know.
Yes, 14560B.
Yeah, so just take a look. And then there's some other things that Lorraine asked Mike about. There might be some other things that we can remove from there. There was a redevelopment on larger pre-existing non-conforming use currently in operation in CL2 zoning, which we asked Mike about because there was nothing in there. It was specifically written for an individual parcel here and it's not relevant anymore, so that could get taken out, but we'll talk about it just when we get to those points. Other questions about that or the process or thoughts? Okay. Lorraine, anything you want to say?
Share with us some of your things? In case we
No,
want to talk about
I'll
it.
write them all up because, I've just thought of a couple of those too, so I don't want to. Very around going there. I'll write all these down. So. The only other. I keep saying it, then I keep bringing them up. I do like the separation of office studio service. And then you have sales and you have 2 levels of sales. We can keep everything in that. We don't need any other categories.
Right. Yep, there was a bunch of,
So when you've got down here,
sales, repair and maintenance, there's a note removed. It was
Sales, repair,
absorbed with
maintenance.
sales office studio changes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that can be,
Yep. So some of that stuff we captured, yeah.
we should be able to cover everything else within those other 3 definitions.
Yeah. We chatted about that a little bit because, and Lorraine and I went back and looked specifically at that one. The notes a few times, just trying to figure out what it was that happened and right. It was an opportunity to clarify it and remove something out of it. Okay, yeah. Send everybody whatever comments you have and we'll work through them. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the trustee report.
Okay, that will be, brief. The April 20th trustees meeting, they approved their April 6th minutes. They set a public hearing on proposed local law D, which pertains to the rezoning of 720 and 730 Warren Road. They just generally discussed certain proposed updates to certain village policies. And then went into executive session to discuss the appointment or hiring of a person. That's it.
Okay. Next on the
point, I signed off.
yeah. Okay, next item on the agenda is other business. I will start out, and I know we alluded to it a couple times, but Lorraine and I did go up to the Planning Federation conference in Cooperstown last weekend, right?
Yep.
Yeah, last weekend. I had to think about that. I was like, it's not that.
I know.
It was really good. So I would love for folks to go next year. We generally budget for a couple people to go. We continue to do that, but I hadn't been since before COVID. And when I was newer on the board, actually, Jim and I went.
Yeah, we went to.
It was up Lake George or Bolton Lane.
Lake George, Bolton Point, yeah.
But it was it was really good. Even some of the ones that I ended up, I was like, okay, well, I didn't want to go to this one because I've been to this one, like these ones before. They were really good. So Lorraine and I will give more of an update at the next one, like some detailed ones, but I'll let you share in a second some of the sessions you went to. But I went to just a case law update one, which was really good and timely for a lot of stuff that's going on, not necessarily here in the village, but definitely in the surrounding areas here. So that was actually pretty good. They haven't brought up some things about like moratorium laws that I just misunderstood. So I was like, oh, well, that's kind of good. That was good. I went to a public officers update. which was good about some proposed changes that might be coming. Some of them pertaining to training, by the way, so. And then I did end up going to a couple that, I went to one about citing, large scale solar projects. So that was, in the New York State agency that, helps with all them, right? If there's some that are over a certain size, that's handled by the state. But they put a big emphasis on, while it is handled by the state and done, obviously they still take, the input from the local municipality into account. And if the municipalities have certain restrictions or laws or things like that, the person, doing the citing it where they are, they're expected to follow those laws. And if they can't, they need to have a written statement of why. And generally, the state sides with whatever the local law is. So as we were thinking about this, we were thinking about we've got the tree law and the sidewalk law and things like that. So those are local laws here that certain things are kind of harder for, certain, solar, or there's a little talk about wind, but not so much here. But that was really good. I did go to a DEC, wetlands update one, not as pertinent here, but, there were some really good examples of how the new, setbacks and delineation for wetlands, and right, it's not just a wetland anymore. It's, also this big buffer around it. One of the examples they shared was, and I forget where it was, but it was a 20-acre lot that they normally would have been able to build, I think build on 13 acres and avoid the wetlands. And then once the buffers all came into play, they had about 3 buildable acres out of the 20 acres, and it was a commercial lot. So it lost just a ton of value. They said if there's residential lots they're working on, and I don't know if Mike or Natalie know a little bit more about it, but we'll share more, kind of a general permit that helps, residential lots avoid some of the buffering, but that's not anything that's law yet. It's just something that, the state's working on, and some other folks. So there was a lot of these sessions that, is waiting on the state to approve.
Mention a lot different from DEC wetlands to national wetlands.
They did a little bit, yeah, but most of it was, focused on kind of what's controlled in the state here, but they brought up the Army Corps, and, there was a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't know if they put the presentations up there yet, but we're hoping that they.
Not all up there
Yeah.
yet, because I've been checking every day, so I can get all my notes in order. But yeah, just like Mike's,
Those were the high points for the ones that I went to.
just like Mike said, I thought it was an amazing conference, and I wish I had gone a long time ago. I took in so much information, and a lot of it I wish I had had even before we started working on the strategic plan. So I could have been more helpful, But there were a couple presentations that were great that I really liked. I mean, I went to like 6 different ones, but you know how you always have a few favorites. So one of them was design guidelines, which is something that we're starting to work on now. Carolyn's starting to work on that, and had just submitted that proposal to Cornell Design Tech. But interestingly enough, the first thing she used as an example was Ithaca and the design guidelines that Ithaca has for all their quadrants, And then another one that I went to was strategic planning and long-term planning. That was really, really helpful. There was all kinds of information that they shared. And when we do our little thing, I'll talk more about that. And then there was another one that was basically an ethics refresher, but you forget about a lot of those things. So that was really good for me and to hear. And it is kind of funny because I'm sure that a lot of these things go on in the bigger cities, and, the bribes, and, people know somebody, oh yeah, I'll help you with the WIC and that kind of thing. There was one more, and I can't remember what the title of it was, but the woman who presented it was the mayor of Seneca Falls for 8 years. And after she stepped down, she wasn't replaced, and the town took over. So there's no more village mayor. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. Anyway.
I will say, and we talked about it on the way back, there were a lot of themes, no matter which section you went to. And then I remember just, kind of ran into I'll meet you after this session, just talking there when we were done, listening to some of these things, and just, hey, here's especially case law update, here's how this place, got into this suit, or here's, we have this issue with this thing. It seemed, and not that we don't have challenges here in the village, but boy, it really seems like the order in which we do things with the boards and how people work together, it really seems like we're doing things the right way. There was and I shared it with a couple people, but there were a couple cases where you know, the planning board went down this route and did all this work with a developer. And they do this regularly. This is just kind of how they operate. And then the Mike in their municipality came in and said, oh, well, I'm gonna classify this as that. And it like erased a whole ton of work that they had done. And I'm like, why would you even start working on it before you know what it is that you're talking about? Like, are we talking about a hospital or are we talking about assisted care? So just another good example of how things are done in the right order, which is good.
There was a company there, MRB Group, and they had quite a few consultants there presenting. And I've actually attended some seminars before where they have sponsored them. And, I think we forget that there are people out there that can help us with certain things. And I mean, they actually help a lot of small municipalities close to us, close by. And so that was a good reminder too, that there are people out there, if we need help with something, so be it that we have to spend some money. But what I also wanted to share was, so some of the common themes, not so much in the presentations and stuff, but just talking to people at breakfast and lunch and whatever, were the data centers, especially when they saw Lansing on our name tags, right? Like I got in the elevator on my way, like the very first morning, somebody from Romulus, because Romulus is dealing with it now. So a lot of people are talking about it, and it sounds like a lot of them are looking towards what Dryden did. And Danby now has done the same, and Trumansburg is also jumping on the bandwagon. So I think a lot of these small towns are really afraid, and they're looking towards changing things and following suit. But the other thing was solar. So there were a lot of people there from villages that are, out a lot more towards Rochester area where there's so much farmland. And these farmers are leasing their properties to these solar companies because they want to make money. And so they're trying to decide what to do about that because it just looks awful. I mean, it's just like acreage and acreage of solar panels, basically. And so that was another thing. But there was no talk of I know one of the things Lisa told me to look for, are these dilapidated buildings? What are people doing? What are people doing to incentivize developers? And there was no talk of that at all. At least not anybody I talked to or any of the presentations. Did you hear anything? There's no talk about that. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I would recommend, I said to Mike, I would go again if the opportunity came up. I mean, it was just really, really helpful. A lot of good information.
Well, that was my other business, but Lorraine, I'll let you move on to other business if you have.
I don't have anything. I'm already on his bad list. I don't want to bring anything else up.
If you think anything, we'll come back. Jim?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Soledad?
I was talking to some teenagers who were wondering about the carnival. And I know we had talked about that. I didn't know if we closed the loop on what was going to happen. Have they requested anything?
Still in my fold.
There are proposed changes, though, if you look through here about that, but it is.
Okay.
Nothing has changed from last year's. Yeah.
But we do have it on the Mike Scott wish list.
Yes.
I've got it right here in my folder.
And I saw the lobster roll food truck in the
What?
mall. There was a lobster roll food truck in the mall. It looked really good.
They used to be over at the Trip Marketplace, and now that
Oh, the tents
Now
there.
the fish
Now
vendors there.
Geo's there.
Yeah.
And I saw that the Ithaca Reuse, I guess they're leaving the Trip Hammer Mall.
Oh, yeah, the Ithaca Voice printed an article today. Actually, it was this
They did?
afternoon. Yeah, I was surprised to see that. Ithaca Voice did print an article. Yep.
That's it.
Lisa?
Is the reuse, they didn't identify, well, I didn't read the article. I got something from reuse saying, please volunteer to help clean up and stuff. I'm assuming they're going into the big lots?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, well, that's great, actually, except, I still worry about that traffic light there, but.
Oh, yeah, well, that's even more.
The Plaza by Westchester, in the village, though.
Yeah.
Oh, this will be-
Are they going to Cayuga Mall or the
Yes,
where Big Lots used to be?
big lots.
Yes,
So how
where
will they,
big lots.
so how will they do that with drop off? I mean, are they gonna move? I was trying to, after I read the article, I was trying to envision, they have a lot of space over at the Trip Hammer Plaza. Like, those are two big spaces over there. Will that all fit into Big Lots?
Big Lots is pretty big.
It is, they don't have,
I don't know, the reason I got the message, I think, is because I was involved initially with the quilting group that's in the back, which takes up a lot of space in the old Ace hardware
Oh.
place. But, and I don't know whether they're gonna continue to do that, and I think they're, you know, and in the back for drop off, there's still plenty of space to go, you know, out back, but yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see. Of course, they have downtown, maybe they're just not gonna have some of the things up here that they did.
Yeah,
You know,
maybe
they've
not.
already sort of divided things up so that there's more furniture and, or certain types of furniture or something in one place versus the other, but yeah, it remains to be seen. But Big Lots is large.
Yeah, it is. So I guess the drop-off place will end up being on the side of the building, right? On the side of the,
I was
Big
thinking
Lots?
in the rear. I was thinking possibly in the rear.
oh, is that gonna cause a traffic problem?
they don't have much outside. Over at Trip Marketplace where they're at now, they have plenty of space in the back.
Yeah.
They have a freight area where they can drop things off. They haven't got to worry about a whole lot of things. I didn't know that they're moving over to Big Lots, and if they want to have the same type of outside facility, it's gonna cause somewhat of a problem because that's a fire line going around the outside, so they won't be able to.
It's not real much, I mean, it's not wide. I mean, it's.
So I don't know. I haven't seen any plans. I haven't heard anything. First I've heard of it.
I'd heard they were going over to the mall.
Well, maybe it didn't work out.
I don't know.
Probably the
They're
mall
going
went.
to a mall, but it's the Cayuga Mall, not.
Yeah, Hugo Mall.
Well, it will,
Not-
again,
we
not
shall
to,
see.
not to run the rumor mill. I guess we'll see when we see.
Yeah, yeah.
What else, Lisa?
I think that's pretty much it. We're just,
Oh, I did have something.
Yeah.
Lansing Grove, the remodeled, the current remodeling of the apartment complex. I see they've cut down all their trees that were around the building and they dug up all the shrubbery that was around the building. And they planted trees the other day. Did you notice that? Oh. I didn't know if they had to have a landscaping plan to.
They've told.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I drove by, I was like, "Ooh."
Well, the one day, all of a sudden, it was right after we came back. All those shrubs that are along the one side, the really tall, big shrubs, all of a sudden they were gone, like totally torn up.
between
that was
them
sort
and
of
the houses, the small house.
It's kind of across from where the road, I can't think of the name of that road that goes up to the village trail.
Latifka?
No.
Yeah,
Oh, it's up around the other side of the building. It's across from Swarthout, kitty corner from Swarthout.
oh, okay,
There
across
was
the
like a
sports house.
huge hedgerow, like really, it was a big buffer there. Anyway, it's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hadn't been past there. The buildings do look just
Yeah.
aesthetically from the outside. And I know you said they're doing a lot inside, but from the outside, they do look a lot better.
Yeah, no, it totally does. And it'll look even better once they.
Yeah, Lance,
Escape.
well, you know, it's tough to work when they were working too. You're gonna rut stuff up, so. Well, they'll fix it.
They're talking about having a park area within that middle courtyard area.
Oh.
So,
That would address that area.
we'll see.
Okay. Natalie?
Nothing.
Okay. Mike?
Next meeting, I'm hoping to set up Kaylee Firth. She is a project manager for a BESS system, a proposed BESS system that might be going in on East Shore Drive. She's agreed, I mentioned this last time, that she and Ronnie and myself, we met to get a little bit of information on what they plan on doing. She said that she would be more than willing to come to the planning board to explain how the BESS systems work, along with how her proposal kind of described that. And as I was mentioning earlier, she's going to bring one of their technical advisors who knows how to basically describe how they handle any emergencies such as fire, talk about their fire suppression systems on these. And you can ask them about, whether these units, whether they hum, whether they put out noises, do they do anything like that? So I think it would be very good for her to come and we can throw any type of question we want at her. And they should be able to answer it, and that might give us some direction when it comes to proposing a local law for best systems. In the meantime, if you guys would like, I think I might end up taking that, New York State sample law and start breaking it down. So it took me a little while with the solar law to get rid of all the stuff that doesn't pertain to the village.
Yeah.
If you want me to start working on that, I can.
What would be the, or maybe you don't know yet, the proposed size of this best unit you just referenced compared to the ones, I guess there's one up by an Arrowhead and there's one up on Warren Road somewhere.
Yeah, the ones that are up there are probably 400 or 500 square feet, whereas this is a half acre, so you're talking about 22,000 square feet.
Okay, it's like a factor of 4.
And yeah, well, yeah, and it's, those were specifically for certain sites. The one that's Brentwood was for the Health and Human Resource area, and the one Dairy One has specifically for that building. Whereas this one actually stores electricity and pumps it back to the grid. I think they're gonna try to attach the station down here.
Yeah, because,
It's a
you know, those,
different beast.
those
Definitely different.
perpetual low frequency hums are a major problem. Just articles I've read about the constant hum. You know, typically it's been in the context of data centers, but if a best unit.
It'll be a great question to ask
Yeah.
their technical advisor. Yeah.
When you mentioned you were gonna address that subject.
And Ronnie and I had asked them about the noises and whatnot, and she had said that in most cases, buffering does handle that. So you can have nice rows of pine trees.
One rose, pine trees, all that.
And I think that'd be the best thing, Jack.
Or a hedge.
So did you want me to put something on the next agenda, talking more about the planning federation, or was that?
If we have time, yes, let's see, though. I know that you said there's a lot coming up. We can chat right before the deadline for to see who else is turning things up.
I can foresee the next couple months you having 4 or 5 special permits.
Yeah, I mean, if there's time, I would like to talk about the planning federation.
I mean, it's,
as well as
we have to spend a lot of time,
No, yeah.
just quick highlights
Yeah.
of things and
But while it's still fresh, I think the sooner the better for that one.
before we forget, yeah.
Yeah. And then as we have time, we'll move on to, charter uses updates, but please do in between meetings, going through that and we'll emphasize that at subsequent meetings.
Okay, and then we have to also have to remember what the first meeting in June is gonna be a joint meeting.
What?
That's June or July. Is that
That's
June?
July.
July.
Oh, yeah, it's July. I probably,
Of the Jays.
did they announce, wait, do we have it on the calendar yet?
You did it at the organizational meeting?
That'll be.
Right.
Okay, well, so at the organization.
Yeah.
So the board has meetings, it's their turn, right, to host?
Yes.
Yeah. July 6th and July 20th. So it's probably gonna be one or the other.
Well, we're getting on to the next meeting's May, so I talk about 2 or 3 meetings before we get to that.
Yeah.
You think about some items on
The
that.
20th is my birthday.
Oh, then we can't do it that day.
What,
It's Natalie's kid day.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
Oh.
We bring cake.
Oh, yeah, maybe it'd be a good excuse.
Okay, anything else, Mike?
No, other than.
Yeah.
Talk about.
Yeah, so that is it for the regular meeting, though. We are going to adjourn to executive session to discuss personnel matters. And we do not expect to
Not to reconvene.
not to reconvene after that. So we will just adjourn from the regular meeting immediately following the executive session. So Lisa, we'd like you to say, obviously. I know you're online, but Kathleen and Carla, thanks. We have a motion.
Yeah,
okay?
motion.
Yep, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session at 7:44 PM.
Motion to.
Motion by Lorraine. Second by Soledad, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. And then, I bet
Stop
do
or pause?
stop recording, yeah, pauses, yeah.